Hello and welcome to another episode of the Live Cost Construction Experience. We're starting to see some return to some sort of normality, I suppose. And before COVID kicked in, so for those that don't know, when COVID kicked in, we went all in on the podcast to try and help out with content as much as we possibly could. So we were doing podcast Monday, webinar Wednesday, podcast Friday. And that was good. The feedback was good on that. Now we're getting some sort of normality back. We're getting back to our traditional Friday content. So every Friday it'll be either blog or podcast, depending on how you like your content. So if it's obviously podcast, you will get that through the website, and then the following week you get your blog, and then the following week you get your podcast again. So we're back to that, and it's good to be back to that. This week, delighted to be joined by Cliona Molloy, who is the Director of Health and Safety and HR at the McKeon Group. Cliona, how are you?
I'm fantastic. Great to be here.
You're very, very, very welcome. Can I kick it off, Cliona? Can you tell people who don't know, I suppose there has been a bit of PR, I suppose, out there that you guys are touching up on 70 years in business, which is a serious achievement. Can you tell people that don't know a little bit about the McKeon Group?
Yeah, of course. So as you mentioned, we're a third generation family business. So originally founded in 1950. So we're celebrating our 70th year this year. So it's a really fantastic milestone to have achieved. We have, I guess, several strings to our bow. We are construction contractors and building services contractors. And we also have a sister company within the group, Hereworks, which is the technology arm of the business. So that's to do with, designing and installing smart buildings in essence. So whether it's your commercial office or your campus, it could be audiovisual services, automated boardrooms, digital signage, wayfinding, all that kind of thing. And their unique selling point in that division is really about making the spaces really functional and efficient and really easy to use for the end user. But we could probably spend all day talking about that. We might come back to you another day on Hereworks. But going back to the other side, on the construction end, we further subdivided that into a major works division and a minor works division. And then we have mechanical and electrical divisions as well. And within those, we work across, a very wide range of industries, commercial, healthcare, education is a big one for us. Industrial, a whole range really, and where we really excel. So we do refurbishments, fit outs, extensions, and where we really excel is in those kind of complex, occupied live environments. That's where our skill set really comes to the fore. We've done some lovely projects last year that in that arena, Trinity Townhouse in town, which, was a conservation and refurbishment project, and we had to keep some hotel rooms live at the same time. So
a real spread then of obviously main contracting services and then technology,
right,
which is quite unique and innovative. I suppose you've spotted an opportunity there, and you've seen the sort of drive to technology, which is great. Something I definitely want to touch on with you. Can I address the big one, I suppose, at the moment? I opened it up by saying you're a Director of Health and Safety with McKeon. I mean, your world must have been absolutely turned upside down. Like, what are the differences for you in a day-to-day? I mean, so I suppose let's start with a simple one. What's different, I suppose, in terms of standard PPE today?
Yeah, well, that was, it's been a roller coaster, I suppose, from a couple of months ago until now. And PPE was, I suppose, our biggest first challenge, sourcing it first of all. So, I mean, obviously we're well used to the usual, your boots, your hard hat, your high vis, your goggles when you need them, etc. So we started early on, even sourcing hand sanitizer. That was a new thing for, I suppose, the whole country. So trying to get our hands on that was challenging initially. And then, of course, the use of masks and then when we have, obviously we're social distancing on site, but in those instances, which happen in construction quite a bit, where you do need that close working. For example, if you're working in a MUP with one other person, it was sourcing disposable overalls, which were kind of highlighted, I guess, in the CIF's standard operating procedure that they brought out. So that was fun trying to source that. But we did, but it took, I'd say the first few weeks as this emerged was centred on getting stocks of those and getting buy-in and explaining then to, because obviously some of this happened before shutdown, we were trying to get this and explaining to the site operatives when they were required and the new procedures.
So in terms of your standard minimum required PPE, obviously, as you touched on, it's nearly old school this stage, but hat, glasses in certain sites, gloves certain sites, boots obviously. So is there now, like, are we going to a place of face protection on hard hats, or is that still optional, or is it still for indoors? I mean, what does the new standard procedure look like now in terms of PPE?
So in terms of standard, again, what we have been using is the wraparound glasses for indoor work, and then the masks and face shield and overalls for those close working situations. Yeah.
The big one, I mean, there's a lot of talk out there of people staging the trade to try and limit the footfall across sites. How are you guys dealing with that?
Yeah, we have implemented split shifts on some of our contracts. So that means, staff are starting on site earlier, and then there's a break between, handover to the next shift, so that, you're not having that entry and exit at the same time. So it's a lot of, programs have to be reworked, separating out trays that you would normally have working together. Now you're trying to, limit them, giving them their own set time on site. So yeah, it's been challenging, but look, it's a new way of working and a new mindset, and we're a couple of weeks in now, and we actually had one site which was designated as essential, so we got a bit of a head start on that. So yeah, look, we're adapting, but it's going to take a little bit more time, I think, to really see the impact of those to the programs and productivity and that kind of thing.
Yeah, as you say, like it's new, so therefore new needs to be tested, and we are in the phase of an untested new procedures. And I suppose, I mean, one of the challenges will definitely be when we come to indoor work, especially. I mean, have you had to sort of change the rules around the indoor work, or is that?
Yeah, so during the shutdown, we brought a team together, a COVID-19 response team, and using the standard operating procedure which the CIF provided as a basis for it, we basically rewrote a procedure to go along with our general safety plan, and detailing all those changes that need to occur. So from site entry to staggering our shifts, as we said, staggering breaks, sanitizing stations. Actually, our carpenters during the shutdown actually created our own sanitizing stations, so that was really great for us to be able to use them in that way, and for them to volunteer to do that.
Is there a certain distance on them, Cliona, or is it more just in common areas for?
Yes, so it would be at site entrance, and then depending on the size of the site, at various points throughout the site, and then obviously that you have your adequate hand washing facilities and that kind of thing. Yeah, so it's dependent on the site, really.
What would be the procedure then? I suppose we just touched on indoor areas then being probably the biggest challenge. The one that comes to my head is two lads putting a sheet onto a wall or a slab onto a ceiling. Very difficult to maintain social distancing. I mean, what is the protocol when it just can't be maintained?
So,
I mean, so if you just cannot keep that, what happens
So
there?
in that case, what we've done is, obviously every subcontractor as well as ourselves had to resubmit RAMs for a project, and they have to highlight in that what are those instances where the close working is going to have to happen. And within that, then we have described what we need to happen in those instances. So that would be, putting on your disposable overalls beforehand, making sure you have your face protection and your mask, and that it's, we keep it to short duration. And it must be approved. We have a COVID-19 compliance officer on every site, so they will keep an eye on that as well. So that's
Okay. And I presume then similar to the staggering of the trades in terms of start and end times, it's the same with breaks. Then everything is
absolutely
going to be started in breaks. Yeah, I know in Boston they set temporary guidelines for sites who are legally required now to follow COVID-19 regulations, and what they need to do is they need to submit a COVID-19 plan to the permit section actually on the boston.gov website, and sites that don't comply or don't actually pass that test are shut down, where it doesn't meet what they've set as regulation. We're sort of going by the CIF's guidelines a lot of time, and it's down to each individual contractor. I suppose, in your opinion, how do you think, as an industry here in Ireland, how do you think we're dealing with that?
Again, it's early days. Us as a company, we're insisting on those revised, I suppose, RAMs back, and we've prepared our own response plan. I think there probably does need to be a little more, possibly training, and although what the CIF provided have been good, but in terms of really planning and preparing the site as opposed to the site operatives, we are finding, to be fair, the subcontractors are very well, that we're working with, they're very well prepared, and they are resubmitting. Now, a lot of times we've had to go back and point out that in XYZ scenario we need a little bit more information here, or you need to document a bit more. So I do think a little bit more in terms of that planning would certainly assist us here in the industry.
There was a lot of talk at the start of this, is like, a massive truth is, like, we are in this together. Never have we seen something come where everyone is affected in the same way, to a sense. You guys come up with a pretty neat innovation with the Good2go app. Can you explain what the Good2go app is and how that came about?
So I suppose, as a bit of an introduction, as a company, innovation is something we're really passionate about. It's probably always been in our DNA. If you go back to my own grandfather's time, as a contractor, there was a shortage of blocks in the market, so he built his own and was turning brush handles for the HSE when required. So, and then my dad would have always been, I suppose, looking out for a better way of doing things. So innovation is not necessarily about a shiny new product or research and development, but not just doing things the way they've always been done, because that's the case. So we have an innovation boost committee in the company. We've been doing workshops in relation to teaching the skills of innovation to the whole workforce. But this app came about as we formed that, I suppose, task force in relation to COVID-19 response. And the first thing we had to deal with after PPE was, okay, how are we going to deal with site entry? So we knew we needed to have a screening questionnaire, in terms of asking, have you been in contact with anyone? Have you been out of the country? Those kind of things. And we'd actually started that before shutdown, but it was, it was a document that was being emailed, then being sent back, compiled into an Excel spreadsheet, which is all well and good for a little while, but what if something changes in relation to your questionnaire? How do I get this information to the site manager that they're going to have it up to date? So we said, right, okay, well, I can't remember which one of us, thought about, right, can we make this an online form? And we all agreed straight away, yeah, that's the way to go. But still, that information was going to be just kind of dumped into our SharePoint site, and again, the issue with if anything changes and access to it. So we then looked at Power Apps, which is one of the, it's available in the Microsoft suite, and we thought, wow, can we make an app out of this? So very quickly after coming up with that idea, we started going through, well, what do we need to be included in here? So you have your screening questions. Then we thought, well, we also need to check that people have done their CIF induction with their digital card. And we said, right, okay, there's actually a scanner here. We can, you could, use the phone if you're using the app as a scanner that will scan that card. So that was bringing it on another step. And in actual fact, once we had decided on going forward on that, it was built in a day and a half, all in-house. Cool. So we expanded it a bit then to deal with probably a bit of feedback we'd been getting anyway from our site managers and safety officers in terms of inductions and checking people's safe pass, their certs, their CSCS cards, all that kind of thing. And that we would have a lot of subcontractors that might be on several of our sites. So, they were going through all this uploading of information for one site, then going to another and doing it there as well. So this app solves all of that.
So we're multi-site then, as meaning that once we're loaded onto you, we can enter each. So
Ciaran, if you come to our site now tomorrow, we will have known you're coming and sent you the link. It takes literally 5 minutes. You're going to input, you're going to answer the questions in relation to COVID. You're going to put in your CIF digital card number. You're going to also give us your emergency contact details in the case that, God forbid, there was an incident on site and we needed to contact somebody. Then you'll come to the gate and the COVID-19 officer will say, okay, Ciaran, I see you here. They don't even need to see the answers to your questions. It'll just come up, oh, you're approved, you're in green, you can come in and have your induction with the safety officer. And they will then ask you, so rather than, we were trying to cut down on the transfer, of paper, pens, all that handling. Yeah. So you can just hold up your safe pass and they can scan it in and it's there for you on the, another site manager or site safety officer can then access it and see that you're approved on that site.
How is that updated then? So let's say I come to your site today and I'm approved. But obviously I'm going out to another site tomorrow and I could be out doing whatever on the weekend. How are you guys then regulating and keeping that updated, the information in there?
So it literally, it loads into a form and we needed it to be secure as well for GDPR purposes. So it's loaded in there. The only people who will have access to it are those site safety officers that need it. It's all, so literally I could log in. I actually looked yesterday and there's over 1,000 people there entered with their their, as I say, whether they're approved or not to enter the site and their details of their certs. And I suppose the thing is,
it is. Yeah, it's to turn it around that quick is impressive. And I'm coming from a place where I've built apps. Yeah. So to build an app in a day and a half, I understand what's involved in that. That's impressive. In terms of technology, like a lot of people will say, and when you go out into building technology, build a minimum viable product first. Fix the biggest problem first, and then build on top of that. You touched on something there which I think is hugely interesting. That you've gone out, you fixed the COVID problem you had. We don't want paper, we don't want pen. What can we do to fix this online? We want an online form. Actually, let's make an app that's smarter again, and got that out in a couple of days. Do you see this being evolving into like a health and safety product for the market?
Absolutely. As it's been rolled out, more. I mean, the feedback we got was fantastic from the sites and everything. Almost straight away. And there's already rumblings of, I wonder could we use it for this, and I wonder could we use it for that. So absolutely. Is the answer. And one of the things, as I say, with this focus on innovation, what we're trying to say to everybody, this whole idea of, try something straight away. Don't think about an idea for months and you might even be solving the wrong problem and you've spent so much time on it. it comes to fruition, and maybe you've been trying to solve the wrong problem all along. So this idea of try quicker and fail quicker if needs be, but at least you've tried it, and you can either leave it aside or keep developing it, as we hope to do now with this with the app.
What? Yeah. What's the overall plan? Will this be available to the wider industry?
So yeah, because like in the last few months has really shown, particularly, or I suppose we're more aware of the construction industry, but how people are cooperating and communicating with each other. I mean, it might sound a cliche, this whole thing of we're all in this together, but we absolutely are. And I mean, we need to prove that we can operate safely in this environment, to keep the industry going, and that we don't hit this dreaded, hopefully, second wave. So it's in all of our interests to help each other out and to share information and what worked for me, what didn't work for me. And we've found even with our competitors that, that is happening, and all are open to sharing these ideas and insights. So we said, once we had seen how successful this was on our site, we said, well, why don't we make this available to anybody who's interested? So we actually approached our IT support partners and said, look, would you like to get involved in this with just helping us to get it out there? They said, absolutely. So there's just a small bit of work involved in exporting it and importing it into your systems. So we have, it's there on our website, McKeon.ie, and the app is good with the number 2go. And you just register your interest there, and we will be in touch, and we'll get you that absolutely for free. Yeah.
It's brilliant. It really is brilliant. And like, in terms of, like, we are dreading, and I use the word dreading, if we ever did get that second wave. But I'm just thinking about, in terms of contact tracing, if you're a subby working on for many contractors, that could be something there that you've just nailed as a screening method to go back and say, where's the jobs you've been working on over the last week, two, who was been with you, who else was in that area. Yeah, no, it's brilliant. Fair play to you on that one. That's a fairly neat bit of innovation, and a quick turnaround. And the fact that it's gone out to the wider industry is just to be applauded. You face a lot of challenges in the coming months, but nothing, I feel, I suppose, as a company of your size, and I suppose challenges you wouldn't have faced before, not in this exact context, but you've definitely faced challenges before, so I have no issue or no worries or concerns that I think you'll come through this with flying colours. Congratulations again on that piece of innovation with Good2go. It really is impressive. Cliona, thanks for your time. We really do appreciate it, and we wish you all the best.
Great, with pleasure. Thanks, Ciaran.